To God be the glory. Is there anyone glad to be in the house of the living God this morning? Well, you can do better than that. I said, is there anybody glad to be in the house of the Lord this morning? Did he do anything for you? Did he wake you up? Did he start you on your way? Is anybody glad to be in the house of the living God? To see, God is not dead to me, but he's still alive in my spirit. He lives in me. He walks. Is there anybody glad this morning to be in the house of God? I've been sitting here. I don't know if you saw me, but I'm ready to give God just a little bit of praise, because if you see where I was and you see me now, I didn't know that God has been extremely. Is there anybody glad to be in the house of the living God? Just one more time. My God, my God. You may be seated. I'm getting ahead of myself. What a pleasure it is to be back in this house, Mount Tabor Missionary Baptist Church, 6614 Southwestern Avenue, Los Angeles, California. My God, Mount Tabor, it's been a minute, and I just thank you. I really do. You've, as Pastor said, seen me grow up, and it's been a pleasure to always come back here. If I do well or don't do well, you still come and listen. And for that reason, I am extremely, extremely grateful to my pastor, Dr. Tyson Brown. What a man of God that we have in this place. Come on, let's give God a top of praise for our pastor. We can do better than that. Let's go ahead and give God praise for our pastor, Reverend Tyson Brown. The great work that he does here at Mount Tabor. And to my preacher brethren, I just thank God for you all and your prayers. And I just want to make mention of two very important people in my life recently entered into my life. Do you all remember when the first time that I went to South Africa? You all helped me out tremendously. Well, these two men sitting in the back, Hori and Farouk, you don't have to stand up, if you just wave your hand. These two brothers back here are some of the founders of the organization that I work with called One Heart Source. And I just want to tell you all, these are the people that helped me get to South Africa the first time. So I just want to say thank you and God bless you. And as Pastor said, there is a lot that's in store, especially just traveling and doing good work and putting legs to my theology. Right? So many of us can say what we believe, but few of us can actually practice what we believe. And so my behavior, I'm trying to dedicate solely to the purpose of uplifting humanity. And that's what it's about. And always to my mother and to my aunts and my family who have joined me, it's always a pleasure just to have a good household to grow up in. It really is, because I recognize that many young people don't have it, but I most certainly am grateful for the loving family that God has provided for me. Not too long I will stand before you, but if you would join me in the gospel as recorded by Mark. The gospel as recorded by Mark. We're going to begin at Mark the 9th chapter. Mark the 9th chapter, beginning at the 33rd verse. Mark chapter 9, verse 33, and we're going to end approximately at verse 37. When you have it, say amen. Amen. And it reads, Then he came to Capernaum, and when he, meaning Jesus, was in the house, he asked them being the disciples, What was it that you disputed among yourselves on the road? But they kept silent, for on the road they had disputed among themselves who was the greatest. And he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, If anyone desires to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. Then he took a little child and set him in the midst of them. And when Jesus had taken him into his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one of these little children in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." For the next 15, 20 minutes or so, I will not be before you long. I would like to preach from this sermonic title, "Do you want to be great?" Do you want to be great? You may be seated. Do you want to be great? My brothers and sisters, I enjoy watching TED Talks. I don't know if many of you know what a TED Talk is, but it's essentially a lecture that people give around the country. So they go from city to city, from university to university, and people will just stand in front of a large audience and present a topic for discussion. And so I love going on YouTube and watching these TED Talks. And one of the TED Talks that I watched not too long ago was by a professor named Dave Logan. And Dave Logan is a professor at the University of Southern California, right here in Los Angeles. And Dave Logan's topic for this particular TED Talk was tribal leadership. Tribal leadership. And Dr. Logan suggests that we are all a part of different tribes. In fact, Dr. Logan would suggest that before you came into this sanctuary this morning, or even as you were in this sanctuary, you are interacting with members of your tribe. And these tribes are composed of roughly 20 to 100 people. And within these tribes, important things happen. Important decisions are made, and our society as a whole is made up of these tribes. Everyone is a part of a tribe. And just as birds fly, just as fish swim, we as human beings, we are a part of tribes. And so Dr. Logan in his TED Talk offers a sort of aerial view of the Coliseum at USC. And in that aerial view, USC is beating up on UCLA. And he's looking down into the Coliseum where there are about 100,000 people watching the football game. And to you and I, what we would see is a large crowd gathered together just enjoying the football game. But Dr. Logan suggests that if you zoom in just a little bit closer, what you will find out is that it's not just one large crowd watching the football game, but it's a number of different tribes that have come together to enjoy the game with members of their own tribe. You understand what I'm saying? And what differentiates one tribe from another tribe at this game is the tribe's culture. Say culture. It's the tribe's culture. And we are all a part of a tribe that has a specific culture. Dr. Logan describes these cultures in stages of 5. So he says you can either be at stage 1 or at the top of the mountain, which is at stage 5. The culture at stage 1 would suggest life sucks. If you are a part of a tribe who operates at this first stage, you will inherently say that life sucks. Now, I doubt that any of us here operate at this level because Dr. Logan suggests that gang members typically operate at this level. The culture in prisons typically operate at this level. People who commit mass murders typically operate at this level. And so what they've done is they've separated themselves from what Dr. Logan considers sort of a more humane culture in a tribe. They've separated themselves from those such tribes, and they form their own tribe. And they do anything that they can in order to survive. And he suggests that as people see the world, so they behave. As people see the world, so they behave. And so when you suggest that at this first stage, this first tribal stage where life sucks, if I believe that life sucks and I see that life sucks, that is how I will behave. All right. And so you move from stage 1 where life sucks to stage 2 that says, my life sucks. Now there's a difference here. Because no longer do both of our lives suck. But specifically, my life I am not satisfied with. My finances aren't in order. My children might be acting crazy. My job isn't what I want it to be. Matter of fact, Dr. Logan suggests that if you were to go into America's greatest companies and you were to poll their employees, the employees will come back and say that my life sucks. I do not want to be here. I just do this to get by, to pay my bills, to put food on the table. This is where I am. Life is not exactly what I want it to be. My life kind of sucks. And I know that there is a further goal for me to get to, that there is a next step in my life, but I haven't seemed to figure out a way to get there. And right now, I'm just in a rut. I don't know about you, but I've been in that situation where I've had to declare that life isn't all that I desire for it to be. And it's so funny because here in church, I believe that many of us can say the same thing. But most of us, when we come into the church house, we know how to play it off. We know how to put on the suit. We know how to put on the tie. We know how to get our hair done and put our makeup on and put on the mask and step into the house of God and act like everything is all right. But when you go back home, you get down on your knees and declare that, oh my gosh, I need to be in another position because right now, God, this is not working and my life sucks. We are like actors on a stage. Trust and believe, I've been there. My family, we know how to do it real well. And your family does too. We know how to get up and stand up and clap our hands when the preacher says to clap our hands, or to dance when the preacher says to dance, or when the music feels good to us. But the fact of the matter is, for many of us, life is not all that we want it to be. Stage 2, and at some point in time, you've got to make up in your mind that I refuse to allow myself to stay in this culture. Dr. Logan suggests that each of us have the power to influence either negatively or positively where our tribal groups move. You have the power to move the group that you are in either negatively back to stage 1 or positively to stage 3. Stay with me here. Because if you declare that my life sucks, more likely than not, the people who are in your tribal group will also declare that my life sucks. Misery what? Loves company. But you have the ability to move your group from the negative to the positive. The power of life lies in your tongue. Dr. Logan says that you can either be at stage 1 where life sucks, or you can move to stage 2 where you say, just my life sucks. Or you can even go to stage 3, which a huge transition occurs. Huge transition. Where you move from saying that life sucks to saying that I am great. But you are not. I am great. But you are not. And my brothers and sisters, this is where we find ourselves in the text this morning. Where the disciples are arguing on the road to Capernaum. And where they're asking each other, who is the greatest among us? Because the fact of the matter is, someone has to be great in order for me. Someone has to be great, and someone else cannot be great if the other person is great. There's sort of a hierarchy that we're playing here. Everybody can't be at the top for some reason, this third stage. Who's the greatest among us? And I ask myself, why are the disciples even asking this question? Do they not know who they're following? Do they not know who the Son of Man is? Do they not know who Jesus is? Of course they know who he is. They've already seen him heal the man with the withered hand. They've already seen him deliver demons. They already see him feed the 5,000 souls. And yet, as they're moving into this new place for Jesus to do ministry, they're asking among themselves, who is the greatest? Who does Jesus like more? The fact of the matter is, the culture that we are in here in America, we get comfortable when we get to stage 3. This is where we really want to be. When you're in stage 2, what you're really trying to get to is to stage 3, where you can say that I am great. But inherently in stage 3 is the idea that if I am great, someone else cannot be great. And Jesus says, what were you talking about on your way to Capernaum? And the disciples didn't say anything. Because the disciples knew that what they had been talking about was antithetical to everything that Jesus' ministry was all about. It's not about you, John. It's not about you, Peter. It's not about you, Simon. But it's about the glory of God that is going to be revealed through my life and through my ministry and through the works that I am doing. Are you part of the stage 3 culture? Where you're always competing with the next person to see who is the greatest. If someone puts on a program, you say, well, I can do it better. All right. If someone says a speech, you say, well, I did it better. If someone has a nice car, you say, well, mine is better. Always having to be one step above the next person in order for your success to be a reality. And so Jesus says, if you really want to be first, you've got to be last. If you really want to be first, if you really want to have a nice house, if you really want to have a nice car, if you really want to have peace, if you really want to have joy, if you really want to have happiness, you've got to remove yourself from this situation and put me first, because if God before you, can nobody be against you. And so when Jesus tells the disciples, you must be last in order to be first, essentially what he is telling them is that you must sacrifice. Somebody say sacrifice. That's point number 1. Sacrifice. What does it mean to sacrifice? What does it look like for someone to sacrifice? I believe that it looks a little bit different for each of us. Particularly if you are at a stage 2 or a stage 3 level. Because the sacrifice means that you've got to take a step back, that your name can't always be the one that is called. It means that you've got to do some background work. It means that not everybody's going to give you the credit for what has been done. But the fact of the matter is, if you step back, that means somebody can step forward. And when I step back, the only thing that I ask God to do is you step forward, Lord. Take that place. Don't let nobody else take it but you. Because when I step back, my work of my life has got to be promoting the love and the peace, the happiness and the joy of Christ, our Savior. You've got to sacrifice. But not only that, many of us have been at a stage 2 level where we've got to say that my life sucks. But have transitioned into a stage 3 where we can say that I am great. But we keep people in stage 2 because inherent in the nature of stage 3 is that you've got to stay at stage 2 and be down there and still in misery and still in the pit barber in Arizona. He told me a story. He said, David, I make about $100,000 a year. I said, as a barber? My God. He said, yes, but it hasn't always been like this. He said, I had to make sacrifices. When I was building my business, it wasn't all nice and dandy. He said I had to give out free haircuts. I had to go down to the homeless shelter and give out free haircuts because they couldn't afford it. I had to pass out my business card. My finances wasn't always what it was. I lost a wife and my children weren't always on my side because I was working so hard and making so many sacrifices to make sure that my business was what it is. And now that you see me, I am great, but you don't know my story. You don't know what I have to go through in order to get you. But he knows what it takes in order to get to the place that he is. So he goes back and helps young men who want to be barbers, and he helps young women who want to be hairdressers in order to take them to the steps. He says, I've been there, I paid the path, now come on, let's walk it together. Because I can't leave you alone. I've already been there, I've already done it, and it doesn't make sense for you to have to go through the same struggles and challenges that I went through. And so what Jesus is trying to do for his disciples is take them to the next level. But not only do you have to sacrifice, but you've got to serve. Somebody say serve. Mark chapter 10, verse 45 says, for the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The Son of Man, the one who we're about to celebrate his birthday in about 4 days, was not born to be served, but he was born to serve. But then in John chapter 14, verse 12, he says, this work that I have done is not just the exception. I didn't do anything that was really spectacular while I was alive, but I've come to set an example of what you should do. Not to be served, but to serve. And Jesus says this is the key to your success. Sacrifice and serve. Because once you sacrifice and you serve, you're able to get to level 4. And level 4 essentially says that we are great. The people in your tribe then become great. No longer are you competing with your brother, but you're lifting your brother up. No longer are you talking about your sister, but you're lifting her up and her emotions up and her self-esteem up. And no longer are you fighting one with another, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same place. And that's what God is. We've got to move from this stage 3 culture where we pit against one another, and we've got to work together. Every now and then you should ought to go and support a black business. Every now and then you ought to say, what can I do to help you? We've got to be great together. And once you are great together, nothing is impossible. Somebody say that we are great. When individuals come together around an issue that is greater than them, they are able to do remarkable things. Once the disciples realized that it's not about you, it's not about you being great, Christianity exploded. Something happened. Something happens when it no longer becomes just about you. But watch this. I realize that I might be speaking past a few of us here this morning. Because it's very difficult for a person who's at a stage 2 level to understand what it's like to operate at a stage 4 level. But it's a little bit easier for a person who's at a stage 3 that can say my life is great, to be amongst many people who can also say that we can be great. But it's important to never, ever forget that you have the power, the ability, and the responsibility to pull the people out of stage 1 and stage 2 and at least get them to stage 3. And together you will be able to work on getting from stage 3 to stage 4, because at stage 4, Jesus says that all things will be possible. No longer will you have to walk in the church and play church anymore. No longer will you have to come up in here all nice and dandy and sitting pretty, knowing that in the back of your mind you are going crazy. Because once you get into the house of God, you know that people are operating at a stage 4, and all they want to do is make you great. God, I need you to make me great. God, I need you to put people in my life to surround me with some positive folk who will speak life and never death, who will always speak truth to power, because together we can make it, we can go to the next level. God will be glorified in the end, and my sister, my brother, that's all that matters. Get to the next level. Somebody say, get to the next level. Tell people every time, get to the next level. You've got to be great. God wants you to do more in your life. God needs you to do more in your life. He's put something deep down inside of you. You are a part of the divine creed. You got some divinity in you. You got more power than you can ever believe, but you got to manifest it right in yourself and tell the world that I surrounded myself with some God-fearing people, with some people who know that if God before me, nobody can be against me, that I am more than a conqueror, that neither life nor death, nor angels, nor principalities, nor demons, nor angels, neither future, nor present, neither power will be able to separate me from the love that is in Christ.
All right now.
But in the beginning, I told you that there are 5 stages
Right.
to this hierarchy. Stage 1 says, life sucks. Stage 2 says, my life sucks. Stage 3 says, I am great, but you are not. And we know how to get from stage 3 to stage 4, because the key to success is service and sacrifice. And now once we get to stage 4, we can say that we are great together. But at the top of the mountain is stage 5 that says, life is great. Stay with me here. Life is great. You see, the fact of the matter is, many people in the world don't want life to be great for everybody. There are people still starving in South Africa. There are people still without running water in Detroit. There are thousands of homeless people right here in Los Angeles. And we have all the resources and the money and the power and the technology for that to no longer exist. And yet it still exists. Somebody does not want life to be great. So what will you do to make life great? What will you do to allow God to move you from one level to the next level? Because the truth of the matter is, life will be great. From hell or high water, life will be great. By the power invested in me by the Holy Spirit, life will be great. Do you want to be great? Oh, that's a question. Do you want to be great? Oh, I said, that's a question. Do you want to be great? And I've stopped right here to tell somebody that God is truly trying to make you and I great. The last time on table that I was here, I talked about a paradigm shift. And my brothers and my sisters, the paradigm is still shifting. And the fact of the matter is, I don't want you to be alone. I don't want you to be left behind when this paradigm starts to shift some more. Because the truth of the matter is, life as we know it will not be the same for much longer. But God is trying to prepare us. He said,